I hadn't seen my mother in nearly 3 years. Not since I moved to Berlin to launch my company. Every month was a new hustle, investors' deadlines, staff turnover. But I still sent money home. I paid the electric bill when it flickered, fixed the roof after the last storm, and covered Mom's mortgage without telling her. $62, $400 over 14 months. Quietly, faithfully. I thought I was giving her freedom. Turns out I was buying my own exile. Her name is Lorraine, 63 strong. Chin, sharper tongue. Raised 3 kids alone after Dad passed and somehow still acted like martyrdom was her full-time job. I used to think she was misunderstood. Now I think she understood exactly how to keep us under her thumb. Especially me. My name's Eli, 32. Founder of a mid-tier AI company with big dreams and very little sleep. The kind of son who never made it home for holidays because flights were too expensive, time too scarce. But I made up for it. Didn't I? I paid for everything. Rent, repairs, even Rachel's wedding dress last spring? Not because she asked, because Mom did with a "you're the dependable one, honey," and a sad face emoji. That was my role, the fixer. So when Thanksgiving came around and I finally had a break, I thought, what if I just showed up? Surprise her, hug her, be there in person for once, remind her that I'm not just digits on a bank statement or a name on a wire transfer. I flew 11 hours from Berlin to Chicago layover in Reykjavik. Delayed another 2 in Toronto. My body hated me, but my heart was full. I even brought a pumpkin pie from her favorite bakery, hand-carried like a fragile artifact, and a bouquet of white lilies, the ones Dad used to bring home on Fridays. When I arrived, the house looked the same brick path lined with hedges. I used to trim chipped porch railing I once offered to repaint. It smelled like cedar and winter and something cooking. I rang the doorbell. Footsteps, muffled voices, laughter. The door opened and there she was, my mother. Hair pinned back in a tight twist, glasses on a chain sweater vest, starched like armor. She looked past the flowers, past the pie, past me. "What are you doing here?" she asked flat. "No." "Hug, no." "Eli, just that." "It's Thanksgiving," I said, forcing a smile. "I thought I'd surprise you." A pause. She glanced over her shoulder. Behind her, the dining room buzzed. My brother Nate, my sister Rachel, their partners' kids I barely recognized. The entire family. Celebrating. No one had told me. "You should have called," she said. "I wanted to surprise you," I said. She stepped outside and shut the door behind her, muffling the warmth. The clatter of forks and laughter. "Surprises," she said, "are for people who belong." I blinked. "Excuse me?" She turned and waved at someone across the street. A security guard hired help for the neighborhood, I guessed. He started walking over, confused. "He's not on the list," she told him. "Ma, what the hell are you doing?" "I'm doing what needs to be done." I didn't fight, didn't raise my voice, just nodded, stepped back, suitcase in one hand, pie and lilies in the other. The guard, some young guy, probably 22, looked at me apologetic. "I'm good," I said. "I'm leaving." And I did, quietly like I always had. That night in my Airbnb 2 miles away, I lay on the couch, fully dressed. Couldn't even bring myself to unpack. The pie sat untouched on the counter, sweating in its plastic dome. The flowers were already wilting. My chest felt like someone had poured wet cement inside it. She said I didn't belong. I paid off her house, bought her peace of mind. Never asked for anything in return. But the second I showed up in person, she called me a stranger. That night, I opened my laptop. Scrolled through a folder titled Family Stuff. Inside were 6 years worth of receipts. Wire transfers, photos, emails. Every dollar tracked. Every ask documented. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just started typing. Not a tweet, not a petty vent. A full thread. Everything. How I paid off her mortgage. How I funded Rachel's honeymoon when her new husband's card bounced. How Nate borrowed $8K for a wellness retreat and ghosted me the week after. How I flew across the world to surprise my mother on Thanksgiving and got a security escort off the porch. I changed names. Blurred photos. But I told the truth. By dawn, the post had hit 70,000 likes. By noon, surprises are for people who belong was trending. Therapists were quoting it. Podcasts were dissecting it. Influencers were DMing me, saying they'd had similar stories. Even a TV anchor reposted the thread with, "Sometimes blood isn't family." This hit me, and then my phone lit up. "Rachel, are you seriously doing this? Take it down." Nate, WTF, dude. You're ruining Mom's reputation. Mom, nothing. But I wasn't done. Because this didn't start at Thanksgiving. It started the day Dad died, and I became the emergency contact for everyone's emotional mess: the bank, the funeral home, the utility bills, and I handled it all. Silently. Like they expected. But silence doesn't mean peace. Sometimes silence is the sound of a bomb being built. And mine was just starting to tick. The first time I realized love came with receipts, I was 24. Dad had just died. Brain aneurysm. One minute he was here laughing over pancakes, the next gone. No goodbye, just an urn on the mantle and a void we all pretended didn't echo through every room. Back then, I was still working 2 jobs. One at a shipping warehouse, the other tutoring high school kids in math. I had $400 in my checking account. But when Mom called sobbing about how the funeral home needed a deposit, I didn't hesitate. I drained my account. Ade ramen for weeks. I thought that's what sons did. Nate. He posted a filtered photo of Dad with a caption that read, "Real men cry." He got 2,000 likes. Rachel went to a grief retreat in Sedona. I packed up Dad's things by myself, wrapping each tie, each book in quiet like they were made of glass. I told myself, they're grieving in their own way. Give it time. But time didn't fix anything. It revealed more rot. At first, it was little things. Can you cover Mom's phone bill this month? Rachel's car broke down again. Nate's startup is in pre-launch. He just needs a bridge loan. The bridge was always me, always. No one asked how I was doing. They just assumed I was fine because I didn't scream. Because I didn't break down. Because I played the role of the stable one so convincingly, I forgot it was a role. Eventually, I got out. I moved to Berlin for grad school. Stumbled into the startup world. I hustled hard. Built a product people actually wanted. Convinced a few angel investors to take a bet on me. For the first time in my life, I had more than $400 in the bank. But back home, nothing changed. If anything, the asks got bigger. Rachel had a destination wedding she couldn't afford. But somehow, I ended up paying for the photographer, the flower arrangements, and the $300 venue deposit after she accidentally booked without a backup plan. Nate called me drunk one night asking for help covering a failed crypto venture. "I just need $5 to flip it back around," he slurred. That was the last time I answered his calls after 10 p.m. And Mom? She played sweet. Never asked directly. She'd just forward messages, Venmo screenshots, credit card bills. Always with a little, "I hate to bother you, sweetheart." And every time I gave in. Because in my mind, I owed her. She raised us alone, worked double shifts, put us through school. I kept telling myself that debt was mine to carry. Until one day I realized she had stopped working 2 years ago, and I was still the one paying the bills. I was 30. Paying for 3 grown adults. Living like I was one missed payment away from a breakdown while they bought spa packages and posted about living their best life. That fall, everything changed. It started with a call from the bank. I was jet-lagged, barely conscious, but the woman on the phone was chipper. "Congratulations, Mr. Adler. The mortgage on the Elm Street property has been paid in full." I rubbed my eyes. "Wait, what?" "Lorraine Adler's residence. Final balance was processed this morning." I stared at the ceiling. It was done. 14 months of payments. $4, $800 every month. No thanks. No call? No, you didn't have to. Just silence. I thought maybe she was waiting for Thanksgiving to thank me in person. You know, make a toast, hug me. Say she finally felt free. 2 days later, Rachel texted, "Mom says the house is paid off, so I'm guessing you've got extra cash now. Nate's rent is overdue again. LMK." I stared at that message so long my phone screen dimmed. Not even a thank you. That was the snap. Not loud, not explosive, just quiet resignation washing over me like cold rain. I saw the truth. Not just glimpses, clarity. I wasn't their son. I was their fallback plan. Their emergency fund. Their silent investor. A human ATM with a heart. That night, I stopped answering their messages. Didn't block anyone. Not yet. Just silence. And the silence, it screamed louder than I ever had. Nate sent me a Google Doc titled Family Sustainability Plan inside. A full spreadsheet of suggested contributions from me to keep everyone afloat through the holidays. Rachel followed up with a DM. "Flights to Italy are crazy expensive. Mind gifting some points? Mom says you always wanted us to travel." And Mom? She forwarded me a quote from a contractor. Subject kitchen. Dreams body. 22K isn't that much for comfort, right? Not a single one of them asked how I was doing. Not one. They didn't know I'd had to delay payroll twice for my company. That I hadn't taken a real vacation in 4 years. That I was battling insomnia so bad I'd started sleeping on the office couch. I wasn't a person to them. I was a card. That's when I booked the flight. Zurich to Chicago. 1 carry-on. A pie flowers. Hope. And you know the rest. Surprises are for people who belong. Those words are burned into my brain like a scar. But here's what they didn't see. While they laughed over turkey and wine, I was upstairs in my Airbnb laying out every document, every receipt, every transaction. Because if I was going to be cut out of the family, I'd leave behind one hell of a highlight reel. By the time I hit post, I didn't care about the likes. I just wanted someone to know what it cost me to be quiet all those years. And boy, did they find out by the next morning my phone was overheating from notifications. The thread exploded 100,000 likes in less than a day. People weren't just reading, they were relating. DMs poured in from strangers saying they finally felt seen. Therapists reposted it. Influencers were quoting lines like scripture. Someone even made a meme of Mom's quote, "Surprises are for people who belong," and slapped it on a t-shirt. I wish I could say I felt triumphant, but mostly I felt hollow. Not regret, not guilt. Just a strange, still kind of peace. Like I had stopped running a marathon I never agreed to start. And then the family noticed. It began with a flurry of messages from Rachel. "Eli, what the hell are you doing? You're dragging our entire family? You think the internet knows the whole story? Wow. Delete it now." Then Nate jumped in. "Bro, this is so low. Mom's freaking out. You crossed a line. This isn't how we fix things." I didn't respond. Not to them, not to the vague emails, not even to Mom's voice message that started with "sweetheart" and ended with "how could you?" They didn't ask if anything in the thread was untrue, because they knew it wasn't. But the scariest part for them wasn't the truth. It was how many people agreed with me, thousands of them. And not anonymous trolls either. Real people, real stories. Everyone had a version of Rachel or Nate or Lorraine in their life. It was like holding up a mirror, and they didn't like what they saw. 4 days after I posted it, Mom called again. This time I picked up. Her voice was sharp sweet, like honey dripped over glass. "Hi, darling, are you done now?" "Done with what?" "This little tantrum of yours." I almost laughed. "Tantrum? That's what you think this is?" She sighed. "You made your point. You're upset, but you've humiliated all of us. Your brother lost a job opportunity. Rachel's been crying for 2 days, and I have women at church asking if we're in crisis. Are you?" She ignored that. "If you really care about this family, you'll take it down." There it was. Not "let's talk." Not "I didn't know you felt that way." Just damage control. "Okay," I said. She paused. "Okay, what?" "I'll be there in 30 minutes. "Wait, what do you mean you'll be?" I hung up. I wasn't going there for a hug. I was going to hold court. When I arrived, Nate's car was in the driveway. So was Rachel's massive white SUV with the vanity plate that read GR8 full. The irony almost made me smile. I didn't knock. I walked straight up to the porch. She opened the door before I could touch it. Same eyes, same sweater. But now the edges were fraying. I walked in. Living room was full. Nate by the counter, arms folded. Rachel curled on the couch like a child denied candy. Mom at the center like a queen holding court. "You came to apologize?" she asked. "No, I said I came to present evidence." I pulled out a thick folder, paper, real paper. I knew they'd respect it more than emails. Receipts. Bank statements. Screenshots. Transfers. Payment. Confirmations. I dropped it on the coffee table like a gavel. "This," I said, "is every dollar I've spent on this family in the last 6 years. Down to the cents. I even included interest. I lost when I liquidated investments to help Nate." That one summer, Rachel shifted uncomfortably. "You kept records. You think accountants don't track losses?" Mom rolled her eyes. "So you're playing the victim now?" "No," I said, "I'm just finally refusing to be the villain in your narrative." Nate snorted. "We never forced you to help. You offered." I looked at him. "You're right, I did. Because I thought that's what family did, but then I showed up unannounced, yes, but not unwelcome, and I got a security escort, not even a plate at the table." Mom's face was stony. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I turned to her. "You planned Thanksgiving without telling me." You didn't forget you chose. You live in Germany. Eli, you're never around. I send money every month I paid off your house. You never asked me if I wanted that. That stunned me. You're mad that I gave you a paid-off house. I'm mad you use it to act superior. I looked at Rachel. Is that what you think too, that I was just showing off? She didn't answer, just crossed her arms tighter. I exhaled. Fine, I said. Then let's make it easy. No more power trips, no more obligations. I'm done. Nate raised an eyebrow. Done how? I opened my banking app, canceled the automatic mortgage backup, killed the Apple Pay link to Mom's account, unlinked the Amazon Prime subscription, removed my card from Nate's rideshare profile, blocked Rachel from my airline miles account. Each tap felt like a liberation. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm setting myself free. You're abandoning us. Mom hissed. No, I said, I'm just accepting that you already did a long time ago. I picked up the folder, ripped it down the middle, and dropped the pieces back on the table. You don't get to spend my silence anymore. The account's closed. I walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't even look back. I was done performing. Done funding. Love that came with an invoice. That night I sat on the floor of my Airbnb with a cheap glass of wine and the rest of that pie. It tasted stale but also like victory. The thread had passed 200,000 likes. People were still commenting. Still sharing. Some messaged me privately saying they had cut off toxic siblings. Some were writing letters to parents they hadn't spoken to in years. And then I got one message that made me pause. It was from an old friend from high school. We hadn't talked in over a decade. Hey, not sure if this is weird, but I saw your post. Just wanted to say I always knew something felt off about how your family treated you. I'm proud of you. I didn't cry. But for the first time, I didn't feel crazy. I felt seen. And for the first time in years, I slept through the night. Silence didn't last long. A few days after the confrontation, the thread got picked up by a viral news blog. You know the type. Estranged son blows the whistle on toxic family, internet takes sides. They quoted me word for word, blurred out their names just like I had. But my words, they cut deep. And the family. They couldn't handle it. Rachel tried to clap back first. She posted this vague story on Instagram, a black and white selfie with puffy eyes, and the caption, "Family shouldn't be a transaction." Some people forget what love really means. Her friends commented stuff like, "Stay strong, queen," and "You don't owe anyone your peace." Cute, except someone, probably one of her old roommates, leaked screenshots. Messages where Rachel bragged about milking my tech. Bro brother and manifesting money through guilt. One of the texts literally said, "He doesn't even ask questions, just sends." It's hilarious. The post disappeared in under 12 hours. No apology, just vanished. Then it was Nate's turn. He didn't say anything online. He's never been great with words, but I knew things were spiraling when I got a call from a blocked number. It was his boss. "Hey, sorry to bother you, but we're reviewing some information circulating about an employee. He listed you as a reference. Is the content of that viral post accurate?" I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. Nate got fired the same week. And Mom? Oh, she went full spin mode. According to one of my cousins, she started telling everyone at church that I was lost, influenced by fame, and spiraling into resentment. She even hosted a dinner the next weekend. Her own Thanksgiving do-over, same house, same kitchen. I paid off, fewer guests. Someone tagged me in a blurry photo from that dinner. The table looked dimmer, smaller, like a stage after the main actor has exited. For a second, I almost pitied her. Almost. But then something unexpected happened. People from the extended family started reaching out, not to scold me, to thank me. A cousin in Ohio messaged, "I cried, reading your thread. My parents are the same." I've never seen anyone talk about this out loud before. And Aunt Mom's older sister, who hadn't spoken to her in 11 years, sent me a DM. She did this to me too. Not financially. Emotionally, I just didn't have the words back then. You gave them to me. It stunned me. All these years I thought I was alone. That maybe I was the problem, too sensitive, too proud, too independent. But now I saw it clearly. I wasn't the black sheep. I was the mirror they refused to look into. Without my money, the cracks in the family weren't just visible, they were collapsing the whole structure. Because I was never just a son, I was the glue. And once I stopped sticking around, everything fell apart. 3 weeks later, I was at work when my assistant poked her head in. "Someone's downstairs asking for you." I looked up. A client. She shook her head. "He said he's your brother." My stomach dropped. "Which one?" She didn't know. I took the elevator down, half expecting Nate to be waiting with another passive-aggressive speech or some desperate plan to salvage his reputation. Instead, I saw someone I barely recognized. Hair disheveled, clothes wrinkled, face gaunt. It was Nate, but not the Nate I knew. He looked hollow. He didn't speak right away, just stood there, hands shoved in his hoodie pocket like a kid who lost his bike. "I messed up," he said finally. No excuses, no sarcasm, just that. I didn't respond. Let the silence stretch like a tightrope. "I lost my job," he said. "Rachel blocked me. Mom's acting like I betrayed her." Still, I said nothing. "I know I can't take it back," he continued. "But I needed to tell you something." He pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot, a payment receipt. He'd paid off the balance of the loan he co-signed, using my name, quietly. No GoFundMe, no guilt trip. Just handled it. "I'm fixing what I can," he said. "I'm not asking for anything, I just wanted to say I'm sorry." He didn't cry, neither did I. But I nodded. Once. That was enough. He turned to leave, but stopped. "I used to think you were dramatic," he said. "But now I think you were just done before the rest of us even noticed." And then he walked away. That night I didn't post anything. Didn't gloat. Didn't update the thread. I just sat with it. The apology wasn't everything, but it was something. And coming from Nate, it meant more than I expected. I didn't reach out to Rachel. Didn't return Mom's calls. Didn't reply when she texted me a blurry photo of an old family album with the message, "Some memories are priceless, remember this." I left it on red, because you know what I did remember. I remembered buying that photo album. I remembered printing the pictures. I remembered cropping myself out of a few so everyone else could fit better on the page. Never again. The beauty of a closed door is that it doesn't creak anymore. No drafts, no false hope. Just peace. After Nate left my office, everything went still. Not dramatic stillness, not eerie. Just quiet, no more calls. No texts from Mom, demanding to know why her Amazon order wasn't processing. No passive-aggressive memes from Rachel. No, just a small ask. Emails from Nate, nothing. And at first it felt wrong. Like walking into a room where a clock used to tick. You don't notice the sound until it's gone and suddenly you wonder if something's broken. But nothing was broken. It was just me unburdened. The first week back in Berlin was surreal. I woke up early every day, no dread. I worked late, not from anxiety but momentum. I didn't check my phone every 5 minutes, waiting for some emotional landmine to go off. I even slept, like actual uninterrupted REM cycle kind of sleep. First time in years. One night I walked down to the corner bakery near my apartment. The one I always told myself I didn't have time for. I got a coffee and a slice of apple strudel, sat on the patio, and just watched. Couples passed, dogs barked. Leaves fell. The city moved on like it always had. And for once, I wasn't rushing to catch up. I was right where I was supposed to be. But you know how they say peace feels foreign to people raised in chaos? Yeah, that part hit me harder than I expected. There were moments I'd pick up my phone out of habit, ready to defend myself from whatever emotional grenade was waiting in my inbox. But there was nothing. Not silence as punishment. Silence as freedom. A few days later, I booked a weekend trip to the Alps. Just me, a backpack, and a train ticket. I didn't even pack my laptop. That would have been unthinkable. 3 months ago, the cabin was small. Wooden floors. A window that faced snow-covered hills. No cell signal. Perfect. For 48 hours, I hiked, read. Slept, ate like I hadn't in months. The kind of food that tastes better because you chose it for no one but yourself. It was a reset, a hard stop. And yet, even in all that serenity, I kept thinking about a single comment from the thread I'd saved it. Reread it sometimes like a mantra. The people who say you're cruel are the ones who fed off your silence. That line lived in me now, etched into the marrow. Because they did feed off it. Every wire transfer, every unread text, every swallowed resentment. They didn't just expect me to be silent, they counted on it. They weaponized my kindness, dressed it up as obligation, and called it love. But not anymore. Still, I won't lie. There were moments of doubt. Like the week before Christmas, when I got a notification Lorraine Adler added a photo of you to her story. I stared at it for a long time. The picture was from my high school graduation. I was smiling, arms around Rachel and Nate with Mom dead center like a queen. The caption, "Some memories can't be erased, no matter how far they run." The passive aggression was subtle, crafted but loud enough for anyone paying attention. I didn't react. Didn't share, didn't text. I just blocked her. Instagram, Facebook. email, everything. Because that wasn't a bridge. It was bait, a trap designed to reel me back into the cycle. And I wasn't biting. That same week, an old family friend messaged me Mrs. Levine, our next-door neighbor growing up. I hadn't heard from her since college. I saw what happened online. I just want you to know, Eli. I always knew you were the one keeping things together. Your dad would have been proud. That one made me sit down. Because Dad, he was the only one who never made me feel like I had to earn my place. He taught me how to tie a tie, how to drive stick, how to look someone in the eye when they're lying to you. And he always said, being needed isn't the same as being loved. I didn't get it then. I do now. I think about him sometimes when I'm walking home from work. Wonder what he would have said if he saw how things turned out. Part of me hopes he'd be mad that he'd sit Mom down and say, what the hell did you do to our son? But the truth? He probably saw the cracks before I did and hoped I'd be the one to patch them. And I tried? God, did I try? I was the emotional duct tape for a whole damn family. But duct tape only holds so long before it splits. And when it does, everything falls. Not because of the tape, but because no one else was holding anything up. A few nights ago, I got dinner with a friend. Haven't seen him in years. After a couple glasses of wine, he looked at me and said, "You look lighter." I nodded. Losing 180 pounds of family stress will do that. He laughed. I did too, but it wasn't a joke. It was truth wrapped in relief. These days, I wake up and don't check 5 bank apps. I don't calculate who I'm covering this month. I don't wonder if Mom's fridge is full or Rachel's rent is late or Nate's newest scam needs bailing out. I just live. I have space now. For things that matter. For people who see me as a person, not a pipeline. I've made new friends. Real ones. I even started dating again. And you know what? It's weirdly hard learning how to be with someone when your instincts are tuned to serve, not receive. But I'm learning. Every day I remind myself that love doesn't mean exhaustion. Support shouldn't feel like sacrifice. And peace. Peace is not boring. Peace is proof that you survived the storm and finally built a house that doesn't leak. I always thought closure would come with a moment, an apology, a hug, a sit-down dinner where everyone cried and promised to do better. But closure doesn't come wrapped in a neat little box. Sometimes it comes as silence. Other times, as a final message that proves you were right to walk away. 3 months after I blocked Mom, Rachel, and Nate, I got an email. Not from them. Those had dried up weeks ago. It was from a third cousin. One of those distant relatives you only see at funerals, and even then you pretend to remember their name. Subject line, just so you know, inside was a forwarded message. It was from Mom. A long, winding, self-pitying rant sent to half the family mailing list. It opened with, "It breaks my heart to say this, but my son Elijah has chosen internet fame over family." She went on to talk about how she sacrificed everything for her children, how betrayal hurts the most when it comes from someone you gave life to. She called my post vindictive fiction, claimed I doctored evidence, and implied I was possibly experiencing a mental breakdown abroad. I closed my laptop and sat very still, not angry, not sad, just done. There was nothing left to salvage. This wasn't misunderstanding. It wasn't grief or confusion. It was deliberate rewriting. A woman trying to cover her shame with just enough tragic poetry to make people pity her. I didn't respond. Didn't defend myself. I just wrote one sentence in my notebook that night. The people who claim you hurt them will never mention the part where you tried to help over and over until you had nothing left. That was my truth. My full, unshakable truth. The story had gone viral. Then it quieted. But the message kept floating out there in strangers' minds, in comments, in saved screenshots, in whispered confessions from people realizing they weren't alone. I never gave interviews, never monetized it, never made a follow-up thread. Because the point wasn't fame. The point was freedom. That same week, I took a walk by the canal behind my apartment. There's this bench I always pass but never sit on. That day I did. Just watch the water. Watched 2 swans glide across like they owned the place. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed anyone a response. That's when I got a call. Blocked number Mards. I stared at it. Could have ignored it. But something in me said, face it. I answered. Eli, Mom's voice. My jaw tightened. How did you get this number? Does it matter? It does. A pause. I just wanted to talk. Without the audience, without the drama. I stayed quiet. She kept going. I know you're angry, and I know you think I used you, but that's not how I see it. How you see it doesn't matter anymore. Her voice cracked a little. So that's it. After everything? No, Mom. Because of everything. Families fight. This wasn't a fight. This was years of bleeding in silence while you handed out knives. She went quiet. Then said almost whispering, "I miss you." That used to wreck me every time. That tiny flicker of vulnerability I clung to like a lifeline. But not anymore. I didn't miss her. I missed the idea of her. The version I built in my head, the one who would eventually wake up and say, "I see you, I'm proud of you, I love you without conditions." That woman didn't exist. She never had. I didn't respond. She said, "Well, I guess you made your choice." I did, I said. And then, finally, I said the thing that closed the door. "You loved what I gave you, but you never loved me." Click. I blocked the number. And for the first time, it didn't feel like anger. It felt like air. The next day, I sat down and opened a new email account. Personal, private only, shared with people who genuinely mattered. My therapist. My team. A couple friends I'd made who liked me for who I was, not what I could offer. I didn't feel the need to make an announcement. I didn't need another thread. The story was done. Instead, I did something I'd put off for years. I booked a 1-month solo trip, Italy. Then Spain. Then a quiet island I can't pronounce but heard has zero Wi-Fi. I packed light. No laptop, just books, headphones, a journal, and one rule. No saving anyone. Because I've done enough. I've carried enough. And here's what I finally understand. They didn't miss me. They missed the services I provided. The money, the favors, the quiet compliance. Rachel didn't miss her brother. She missed the flights, the Venmo transfers, the miles. Nate didn't miss late-night calls with me. He missed a lifeline when his latest idea failed. Mom didn't miss her son. She missed the unpaid mortgage. And when those things vanished, so did I from their world at least. And yet I didn't vanish. I rose, not loudly, not publicly, but piece by piece. I'm sleeping now. I'm building a life now. I'm laughing again. Real stupid, belly-deep laughter. And you know what? They still talk. I know they do. Because people like that can't let go of the mirror you became. But I don't care. Because I didn't burn the bridge. I just stopped repairing it alone. Let them build their own. Let them pay their own way. Let them learn what love feels like when it has to be earned, not extracted. And me, I'm finally free. Not from them, but from the story I kept trying to rewrite. The one where I was always the fixer. Now I'm just Eli. And that's finally enough story 2 at the Father's Day meal. My cousin grinned. "We used up all of your money. Think of it as a communal present." My brother then added, "Family comes first." You say? Thus we arrived first. I grinned. Canceled all of their payments and silently departed from the table. Everything changed. 10 minutes later, when the doorbell rang, my cousin Josh commented, "You always did act like the wallet of the family." With a sneer that you normally say for someone you're about to intentionally embarrass, he clinked his glass. I remained silent. The way everyone else at the table laughed too shocked me. "You're joking." I forced a laugh as I said, "Correct." My brother Dylan added, "You always say family comes first," as he leaned back in his chair with his napkin still tucked under his collar like a bib. Thus we arrived first. Easy math. I surveyed the table. Nobody appeared surprised. My mother, on the other hand, continued to drink her wine as if this were an ordinary Thursday. Not my father, who only a minute before had lifted his glass and toasted to close family relations. Not even Aunt Monica, who shrugged and blinked at me after crying over an overdraft fee. As usual, they were all aware that I had paid for the supper reserved the Ridge and Maple private room, placed their favorite wine orders, paid in advance for dessert. Even though Father's Day was usually difficult, I still went. Nevertheless, it was attempted. However, there was more to this. My account was depleted by you. Silently, I said, "That has really drained it." Josh drank his beverage, as calm as ever present for the group. "Consider it a reallocation of family finances. Since you never say no, we all reasoned that it made sense." "It was just sitting there, dude," Dylan said, leaning closer. "Money is only a tool. Yet you act as though it's precious. You claim to love us, correct? So what's the issue?" I grinned because I could finally see it clearly. Not because I was all right. They believed that I was stuck and would always be the obliging idiot. That I was too tender to leave, however, they overlooked a crucial detail. I had the receipts even though I paid for dinner. Without much fanfare, I took out my phone, opened the banking app, and began to swipe. Josh continued to discuss a fresh startup concept. On his second bourbon, Dylan was... Nobody took notice. Every automatic payment linked to their names was frozen by me. I had been paying Josh's rent under a false name on his lease, and I had paid Dylan's auto insurance since his DUI, Spotify for the family, Amazon Prime for mom. Everything. On the final one, I hit confirm. Then I got to my feet. "Where are you heading?" That asked, finally paying attention. "Bathroom," I said, "won't be long." But I didn't head for the bathroom. I walked straight out the restaurant door into the summer dusk. Everything changed. 10 minutes later, when the doorbell rang, the first text came before I even reached the parking lot. "Dylan, what did you do?" Then another mom. "Sweetheart, can you please come back? There's been a misunderstanding." And then one that made me stop walking. "Josh, bro. It was a joke." "Come on, a joke?" They thought draining my account, mocking me in front of a room full of extended family, and raising a toast to my humiliation was a joke. Let's rewind. It didn't start at dinner. It started long before, years before I was the fixer. The one they called when the electric bill was overdue, when Josh's credit card got declined, when Dylan's license got suspended and he needed an Uber account just for a few weeks. They didn't ask. They assumed, like the time mom texted, "Hey honey, we put you down as co-signer for Dylan's loan. Just a formality. No need to worry. No, can we? No, would you mind?" Or when dad broke his foot and somehow it became my job to pay the mortgage for 3 months straight. "You don't want us to lose the house, do you?" They never forgot to send that kind of message. Then came the group chat incident 6 months ago. Josh screenshotted my dating profile and dropped it in the family group with the caption, "Our local bank account trying to find love." It got 23 laughing reactions. Even Aunt Monica added, "He's such a sweet boy, always helping. Hope someone sees his heart under all that desperation." No one defended me, not even mom. When I confronted her later, she just said, "They're just teasing. That's what families do. It's love, just not gentle." The money started disappearing slowly. At first, I thought I was just spending too much. Food bills. The usual. But then I started noticing transfers I didn't make. A Venmo charge titled wedding deposit, but I wasn't dating anyone. A $900 Apple Pay withdrawal. I couldn't trace. Turns out Dylan had been using an old connected device when I forgot to authorize. When I brought it up, he laughed. "You're acting like you're broke," he said. "You make what, 6 figures? Don't pretend it pains you." Then came Dad. He started phoning more regularly, but never to say hi. It was always, "Do you have a second?" Which actually meant, "Can I guilt you into something?" He was delinquent on taxes, claimed it was a clerical error. I paid it. He needed aid with repairs, I paid it. Then I found out from a relative. He told everyone he paid for my college. That was the line. The actual tipping moment prior to the meal. 1 week prior, I saw that my savings account had decreased by $12,300, lost. Before I phoned the bank, I believed it to be fraud. They claimed that my IP address had authorized the transfer. It wasn't me. Though I submitted a report, then I recalled that 2 weeks prior, Josh had borrowed my laptop, said that he was misbehaving. It never occurred to me to see if he had set up remote access. He didn't even flinch when I challenged him. "Why are you behaving like a cop, man? It's only financial." "We required it." I inquired as to our identity. He grinned. That meal with the family, the one in which he used a punchline to toast my fractured spine, I came to a realization. In no way were they parasites. Parasites. When they're feeding, don't laugh. They were designers where I was. They constructed this machine simply to harvest me. What's the worst? I thought that if I offered enough, they may eventually regard me as family, so I let them. As a person deserving of respect, not just a bank. I just got the punchline, though. I didn't go home after leaving that eatery. Since I had been doing more than just mailing money. I went to my office and accessed my files. I had been hoarding items, screenshots, communications records of sound. Josh really mentioned. If he finds out we took that money, in that instance, let's just say we believed it to be his father's gift he refuses to push. Or when Dylan made a joke about how simple it was to gaslight me in the group chat. However, there was another factor. Something I kept to myself. Do you recall the family investment that I was duped into 2 years ago by my father? The Temecula land that was intended to be a vineyard? Well, when something didn't sit right last month, I pulled the records. You know what? They obtained a business loan by using my identity, and you know what else? They never reimbursed it. They sent all the mailings to a family PO, so I was unaware that my credit was being taken. Josh opened the package, therefore the explosion was not caused by the supper. It was the final spark. That doorbell too. The conflict began at that point, not the type they were hoping for though, so I was not going to yell. Piece by piece, I was going to dismantle their kingdom. It all began with the person on the other side of the door. My family did not anticipate the individual on the other side of the door. More significantly, Myra. My financial counselor assisted me in tracking down each questionable transaction, each and every illegal entry. Each time the family touched something they shouldn't have touched. She had no smile on her face. She had her phone in one hand and a manila folder in the other. Without a word, I opened the door for her behind me. It was a frozen artwork. The dining room, Josh continues to hold his drink in midair. Under the table, Dylan was texting, and his father was chewing slowly as if he was unaware that a storm had just arrived. Mom was the first to break the stillness. "Who is this?" I gestured for Mara to join me as I took a seat at the head of the table. "This is the person who helped me figure out where my savings went," I remarked coolly. Josh gave a snort. "Come on, please. This doesn't need to be theatrical. Helping Familia is not illegal." Mara spread out 5 pages in front of me after opening the folder. Like cards in a high-stakes game of poker. I slid them over the table one by one. An application for a signed loan. In my name, Josh's cryptocurrency wallet receives a bank transfer from my business account. A screen grab of Dylan using a fake IP to access my online banking. A group chat transcript that includes timestamps. A digital audio recording with the title, Dad's Plan. I pressed the play button on my phone. The room echoed with Dad's voice. "Look, we'll just say it was for him if he finds out. Father's Day retirement presents are irrelevant. He is not going to sue us. He's too lenient." Nobody breathed. Mara went on to say that the recording came from a cloud backup. You were unaware that his Dropbox sync was still active. Dad hit the table with his glass. "Private conversations are being recorded by you now." I gave him a look. "Be calm, steady." "No, you did record them. You simply lacked the intelligence to remove them." Josh abruptly got to his feet. "This is crazy. You're portraying us as criminals." It was a miscommunication within the family. I was given a tiny black flash drive by Mara. Give them the motivation. I took my laptop out and turned it on. It wasn't an audio file that played next. The folder was called Family, Emphasize. Dad, Emphasize. Money, Emphasize. I agree. PDF forged digital, created from a template my cousin had used to fake a contract between me and Dylan. It's signed mine. However, I never signed it. Mara zoomed in on the metadata created by Josh Lockwood. I turned the screen. Recognize this? Josh? His mouth opened, then closed. Dylan cursed under his breath. "I didn't know he was going to actually file it," he muttered. "Louder," I said. Dylan looked up. I said, "I didn't know he was going to file it. It was supposed to be for emergencies and the $12,000 removed from my account last week." I asked silence. That's when Mom stood up, her voice trembling. "You're tearing this family apart over some money," I laughed. That type of chuckle? That sounds more like a saw breaking in half. "No, Mom, you did. When you all decided that love was measured in withdrawals." I dug into my suitcase and took out one final thing. An envelope containing copies of every payment I'd made in their names in the previous 3 years. Over $86,000. I read the total aloud. Josh became white. Dylan rose up murmuring, "I need air," and exited the room. Dad glanced down at his dish as it had betrayed him and Mom. She just whispered, "We didn't know it was that much." That's when the doorbell rang again. Everyone winced. I grinned. "That's for you? I believe?" When Dad opened the door, my cousin's ex-boyfriend Eric entered. Everyone referred to that person as a failure and an alcoholic. However, he nodded courteously at me while holding a tablet in his hand. "Are you ready?" he inquired. I gave a nod. After setting the iPad on the table, he pressed the play button. 3 weeks prior, Josh was seen speaking to Eric on a video call. "Listen, we're going to give him a Father's Day present that involves draining his account. Even if he becomes angry, he won't check. Let's twist it." What if he discovers we then cause him to question himself? You're skilled at acting naive. I assume you're skilled at feigning astonishment. Stop the video, Eric. Just in case I save the call. I had to remind those who had truly deceived me. Lunge for the tablet, Josh. However, Maura was faster. Touch it again, and I'll press charges, she threatened, snatching it back. Dad turned to face me, his neck's crimson veins showing. Do you believe that this elevates you above us? You simply made us seem foolish in front of one another. Family isn't that. Slowly, I got to my feet. No, that's speaking the truth at last. I then looked around the table at everyone. You are being notified. Every payment transfer, co-signed loan, and automatic debit associated with your life has been canceled by me. Your subscriptions have expired. Netflix is no longer available. Spotify is no longer available. Josh's rent. Dylan's policy, Mom's debt from her grocery card. I didn't do it. I then added. And additionally, a complete report of the illegal loan that was taken out in my name will be sent to the IRS tomorrow. Dad, good luck with your audit. He sprang forward as if he were about to strike me. Eric used one hand to stop him. Please, sit down, he replied icily. The temperature dropped. After gathering the documents and putting the drive in my pocket, I turned to go. You're really going after all this, Josh mumbled. I paused at the entrance and turned around. Yes, silently. You showed me less respect than that. After that, I departed into the darkness, no drama, no shouting. Just a man who ultimately came to the conclusion that if the family name was shackled, it had no meaning. I hit the publish button the next morning. The video isn't dramatic. Don't cry for a selfie. Only the title of the post. In my household, family mattered a lot. I then included screenshots of the group conversation, the forged loan, Dad's audio, the fictitious payback agreement, and the bank records that showed $86,000 had been spent. The footage of Josh laughing about gaslighting me comes last. No one was tagged by me, I didn't have to. It had 12,000 shares in 3 hours. It reached a local subreddit by lunchtime. By nightfall, our /entitled folks had it on the main page of Reddit TikTok, then took it up. Josh's statement, "You always say family comes first," was edited by a user. Therefore, we matched it with a gradual zoom on the bank statements and came first. In a single day, it received 3.2 million views. The tone was evident even if I didn't read every remark. Think about making fun of someone who actually provided the funding for your life. At the dinner table, that grin, that's the cracking of generational trauma. Bro did a fantastic job. Keep quiet. Revenge. Tastes good. Josh, who's the loser? Now Dylan texted me 19 times that night. We must first speak. Then we are being ruined by that post. Kindly remove it. And lastly, do you find this amusing? You're setting your own family on fire. At about 8 p.m., I left him on Reddit. Someone I didn't recognize sent me a direct message. The reporter was from the area. People were inquiring whether the tale was genuine after it went viral online, she claimed. If I wanted to comment, she asked. I wrote her one line. You haven't seen half of the paper trail for everything I posted. That evening, she released the article. Title, First Family Until the Funds Are Exhausted. A Silent Son. An embezzlement of $86,000, the article became viral in the aftermath. Then the responses appeared. The next morning, Mom wrote a lengthy Facebook post. Despite our imperfections, we remain a family. You shouldn't ruin the individuals you care about on the internet. It's important to forgive. She wasn't prepared for the comments. When you took from him, did you forgive yourself? It's not a free ticket to forgive. You're shocked that it's on video after raising a snake pit, lady. Then Josh arrived. He attempted to post a counter-argument, said, I gave false information on everything, said that there was a misunderstanding, and that it was only financial help. He boasted about taking advantage of his cousin's guilt complex in a Reddit remark that was discovered 6 months ago. A dot. He didn't post anything that night, so he erased his profile. He got a lawyer. Believe it or not, I received a stop and desist letter typed in. Comic Sans, claiming that I have defamed the family's heritage. I returned a one-page response. Only one phrase. Slander is not truth. And the day you turned my love into a weapon, you lost your heritage. Then something unexpected occurred. I got a call from the bank. It turns out that they started an official inquiry since Mara had reported so many questionable transactions. Dylan forged Josh's contract in order to obtain the Temecula Vineyard loan. It was everything being reviewed. 3 family accounts were placed on hold until they were verified. The loan, in my name, was then called by the IRS being investigated for fraud. The vineyard industry. Dad attempted to qualify as a veteran-owned business. They discovered discrepancies in the records. Can you guess who gave the initial deed? Grandpa died in 2014. I hadn't even explained what had occurred to him yet. He just mentioned one thing when he phoned me. Told you. However, they were kneeling. In the meantime, I was performing a live act that I never imagined I would get to do. I took up residence in my new abode. Clear the area. No guilt trips. No noise. I create a channel on YouTube. Not for retaliation about financial literacy. The first video. How do you take back control when your family uses guilt as a weapon? In 3 days, it reached 300,000 views. Strangers began writing me to express their gratitude, stating that I had given them the confidence to break off relationships, refuse to be friends with someone who only brought blades, and stop bleeding. A non-profit organization for adult children of toxic households then sent me an email. I was invited to present at their conference in the fall. Yes, I replied. Dylan made one final attempt. He appeared in front of my residence. Cheap flowers, sleepy eyes, and a hoodie claimed to want to speak. I barely opened the door to let you know that I've been making your life simpler for years. You made my life miserable for those same years. Your redemption story is not why I'm here. I shut the door after that. The last strike. Every login and number was altered by me. Mom's emergency joint account was closed. Canceled everything, including the Costco card, Spotify gym memberships, and Prime. I then made one last post. Just a picture of my keychain with a new tag account and a closed caption. No drama. Family wasn't the first. It turns out, the first person they used was me. Do you know what I discovered? I had lost my anger. Not after the remarks, not after the videos became viral. Not even after the cease and desist letter, which was written like a passive-aggressive church bulletin. Or the bank inquiries I had had enough of, acting like I belonged to a family that only called me when there was still a debt to pay. Silence is a purchase of tranquility. Don't use being treated like a wallet with a heartbeat as an excuse for being too sensitive. Mom's last communication to me was brief. Your point has been made. Could we please proceed? I didn't respond, but I did continue. Not toward her, though. I updated my phone number. New SIM, new carrier. Don't forward. Just 5 individuals have a new one. I have no DNA in common with any of them. I gave the YouTube channel my all attention. It's a brand. Now that list on purpose. Within 48 hours, the first 2D drops were sold out. The elderly family Spotify. I made my first playlist in its place. Title tracks to break negative connections to the cover image, Dylan's screen grab. My favorite part is that we need to text the new storefront. I took some of what I got back, you see, just enough. And in collaboration with a nearby group that promotes mental wellness. We started a tiny co-working cafe for those who had survived toxic households and guilt-raised kids who grew up to be responsible adults. It's bright and clean, secure. Above the entrance is a name, first followed by that in a smaller typeface since I was usually last. No more. Once more, the ribbon cutting went viral. Josh was tagged by someone. He remained silent. Dylan shared a narrative. Some people lose track of their food source. It nearly made me chuckle. I wasn't fed by you. I covered the cost of supper. Dessert was paid for by me. I even received spit in exchange for tipping. I eat a slice now. Though I don't have any sirens in my chest, I don't worry about who would message me at 2 in the morning to need a fast $400. It brought back memories of all we did for you as a child, I'll say it aloud. My decision to choose peace does not make me a villain. Refusing to pay for my own mistreatment does not make me nasty. Above all, I am not your narrative of salvation. Setting limits, not seeking retribution, is the theme of this tale. I don't forgive you at this point. We all give each other hugs. This is where I flourish in your absence. I claim that you no longer have access to me at this point. It's not because I'm chilly, but that I've finally realized how valuable I am. Story 3, as well as my sister's engagement celebration. There were 13 of us, but the table was set for 12. Our uncle made a joke. "There's always someone more." Everyone chuckled. I grinned, murmured and glanced around. Extras can readily taken out. I got up and walked out without making a sound. The lights faded 40 minutes later. The staff began to pack up as the music ended. The entire gathering disintegrated. With a giggle, our uncle lifted his drink. "There's always someone more." Everyone laughed as if it were a harmless joke. I scanned the lengthy table, champagne flutes, linen napkins, and a 1,000er cake. Everyone dressed up as if the past didn't exist beneath their brand new cufflinks and manicures. I grinned, but not in a way that could be seen. "Extras can readily taken out," I murmured, quietly. Pulled my chair back and left without making a sound. Nobody trailed behind. Not even my sister. Not my father. Not my mother. We were meant to be celebrating the woman's engagement. A frantic waiter I knew from high school called me 40 minutes later. "What did you do, man?" "The party is disintegrating." "What did he mean?" I asked. He said that the employees had been instructed to leave. During the first dance, someone turned out the lights and the DJ left early. "Good," I said, and ended the call. What? Nobody at that table was aware my sister, with her phony grin and gleaming teeth, didn't even realize that I had spent months planning this departure. Not because I was seeking retribution. I was tired of being the family's handy shadow. Not because I was resentful. And it began long before the $5,000 loan and the engagement. Prior to the post error that cropped me out of a family photo she had never paid back. Last Christmas, she stated, "You know you're not really needed," while looking me in the eye. However, I said nothing. I cooperated. The bills were paid by me when no one else would. I arrived, like a decent brother or son. I swallowed my pride until I got called extra that night. Like a razor. Cutting glass, that word echoed in my ears. You see? They refer to someone they've previously replaced as extra. Simply put, they haven't informed you yet. Furthermore, there is nothing left to lose once you accept that you have been replaced. There was no treachery in the beginning. It began with, "Are you able to assist?" Only this once. Emma's initial request for money, she sobbed. Said she didn't want her parents to know that her rent was past due. She wanted some time to herself after losing her work. That afternoon, A sent her a $1,200 wire. She didn't bring it up again. She texted a second time. "It's only $100. On Friday, I will pay you." The following month began on that Friday. That month became an eternity. I never refused. That turned into the issue. The oldest brother was me, the retreat, the net under the circus with the family. I lived close enough to call when the internet bill was due, but far enough away to be forgotten. When Dad underwent knee surgery, I had to buy a stronger brace because my insurance didn't cover it. Mom mentioned that she intended to give Emma a new automobile as a birthday surprise. When their heat went out in January, I co-signed the lease. At 2 in the morning, my Venmo buzzed, and each and every time, the same quiet or worse was the answer: entitlement. I initially convinced myself that it was love, and that this was what families did, that perhaps people would view me as a person rather than a resource. If I simply continued to provide, I was mistaken. Emma's engagement was the first real crack. I came onto a nicely made video on Instagram. Her fiancé was kneeling with a ring the size of my rent as she pretended to be shocked on a rooftop. The caption said, "Case popped." A drone circled. I answered yes, and I'm excited to celebrate with the people who are most important to me. For 5 minutes, I gazed at it, wondering if I had missed a call I hadn't. That night, the group chat blew up. Not that one. In another one, I was... Mom unintentionally sent a screenshot intended for the other thread. The one with the inner circle label, which is how I found out. It didn't include me. The supper followed. When I arrived, I received an impromptu invitation to a small family gathering at our aunt's. Emma flinched as if I had trampled her bridal gown. Hey, I had no idea you were coming." While pouring wine, our uncle made loud jokes at the table. "We are 13. There's always someone more," everyone chuckled. I didn't. After looking through my credit card history, I became aware of the money trail. Evie's florals cost $2, $800, $150 for a $600 event space deposit. Custom cake. Design. On a card. I hadn't used in 6 months. All charges were made. During the pandemic, I gave my parents this card. just in case I dialed the charge sheet number. Jenna from Evie's Events is here. Is this the ideal number to verify Emma's remaining wedding bouquets? I didn't respond. I just hung up. 2 days later, I opened Facebook and saw my name mentioned, but not tagged. A distant cousin had commented on Emma's bridal shower photos. Can't wait to meet your brother. Finally, Emma replied. Oh, you won't. He's not involved in this part of my life. Not invited, not wanted. But my bank statements beg to differ. The final straw, the group gift. A week before the engagement party, I got a cheerful email from my mother. We're all chipping in for Emma's honeymoon. Surprise. Since you live far, I've put you down for 1,000, just transfer it when you can. Love you. I didn't reply, but I didn't explode. Not yet, I watched. I collected not files or audio, just screenshots, receipts, emails. Real time, proof of how they saw me, like the text from Dad to Emma. Don't worry, I told him he was working that weekend. You won't come. Like the message from my fiancé to his friend. Her brother's intense. Just don't bring him up. Her family says he's a drama magnet, like Mom's post. So proud of our little girl. This wedding is for the family, the ones who were always there and still. I kept paying until the engagement party. It was held at a vineyard just outside the city. Linen tables, string lights, live music, a guest book. Station with a vintage typewriter. I drove up in silence. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I was tired of saying it to people who weren't listening. The place was set for 12. I was number 13. Uncle. Someone's always extra laughter. I scanned the table. Am I in white? Mom. Glowing dead? Already have drunk friends, cousins, distant aunts, all smiling. No one looked at me. I smiled anyway. Extras can readily taken out. I remarked and stood up. I walked out nor dramatically nor fiercely, just done. 40 minutes later. The venue lost power. The DJ stopped mid-song. The personnel indicated the payment authorization had failed. Something about a restricted card and a blacklisted account. The champagne serving ceased. The cake never made it to the table. The photographer packed up and went unpaid. And then someone examined the booking contract. It had been canceled, not last minute. Weeks ago. I didn't sabotage anything. I simply turned off the tap. I was the one paying for it all. It just failed to notice, or perhaps they believed that the money would continue to come in if I was invited or not. However, they lost more than just a visitor when I left. Their wallet was gone. They were no longer silent, and they had a lot more to lose, as if it were a peace offering. They purchased the tickets, seats in the front row at a sold-out game, state rivals against the local team. My dad used to boast about seeing this type of game with true fans rather than followers. My mother sent me the SMS. Let's begin anew. Everybody's seats were ours for hours. Come watch the game. Please drink a beer. Not a drama. You are missed? Not a drama. It was adorable. Yes, I replied. Not because I want a new beginning. Clean and loud was how I wanted things to end. Emma was already posing with her dumb foam finger and snapping pictures as if nothing had occurred when I arrived at the gate. Mom dressed in her finest "See, our family remains together" grin as a bribe. Dad gave me a hot dog. Have fun. Already, he said. I took a seat 2 seats away from them, halfway back to his seat. Not for petty reasons due to habit. The only thing that ever kept me sane was distance. The game's first half was a haze of fake cheese and awful beer. Yelling as if he were the coach, Dad screamed at the referee. Emma used the caption, "Family night blessed," to live broadcast her responses. Since they couldn't run and halftime was approaching, I waited. Even though I didn't exist in her picture when there were huge queues for food and a large number of people, I got up 15 minutes before to the break and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. Let's have a bite to eat. I want to say something. Dada seemed perplexed. Mom tensed. Emma rolled her eyes. To get to the concessions, we walked. The smell of old ketchup and spicy fries filled the air. I chose a table close to the corner so that witnesses could see it, even if it was away from the commotion. Then I began to speak. You want tranquility? You wanted to have a family-like conversation. All right, let's do it. However, I no longer do things your way. Through her straw, Emma laughed. Will you be giving another speech like this? I reached into my pocket, took out my phone, and pressed to open a folder. Look at this. I turned the screen in their direction. $600. Cake, wine, $50 venue deposit, and $800 and $2,000 flowers. Mom blinked. Dad opened his mouth, but my card didn't release anything. Sincerely yours. It was the same card that was intended to be used only in an emergency. Do you recall that, Mother? Her gaze was fixed on the table. I never even received an invitation, but you allowed me to cover the party expenses. Dad made an effort. We were unaware. That is untrue. I interrupted. You were aware, you relied on me. I didn't check. You relied on me. Always paying for it and keeping quiet. I looked across at Emma as well as you. You still list self-made in your Instagram bio. But when you couldn't hold a job longer than a TikTok fad who was paying your rent for 6 months in a row? When your stupid cryptocurrency scam failed, who helped you out? Emma's face became white. It's not necessary to be harsh. Not that I'm being mean. Calm and clear. I said, I'm being precise. I opened the registry for her fiancé. Look familiar. Have these presents been delivered to your home? I paid for it. You never expressed gratitude to me. You didn't even inquire. I was already switching the phone back to Dad when she opened her mouth to speak. And this, I showed the others a screenshot of a group chat where his name was displayed. Do not extend an invitation to him. Everything is awkward because of him, I said, raising my voice. You're referring to the man who covered your last 3 trips. The person you never call when you need a family photo but always call when the car breaks down? Dad got red in the face. It was a joke. No. A joke is always extra for someone I bent over. It was my responsibility to ensure that the bills were paid. It happened. Your faces continued to smile, and when I stopped giving out money, I became a liability. An outsider. People had begun to search. 2 tables down is a woman wearing a jersey. Lifted her eyes from her nachos. One of the children in line looked around. I didn't care the Ishwash. One of the witnesses is me. You brought me here in the hopes that I would behave and accept the complimentary ticket. Sit quietly and act as though nothing is wrong. Emma hissed. But I'm not here to behave. You're creating a scene, God. No, I said. I'm making a record. I stood, lifted the phone to eye level, and hit send to all of them. Mom's phone buzzed. That's Emma's. The notification lit up like synchronized fireworks. What is this? Mom asked, tapping. It's your ledger, I said. A complete history of everything I paid for every time you asked. Every time I said yes, and every time you pretended it never happened. I looked at them one by one. I've shut down the shared accounts, but the automatic payments, the wedding expenses, gone. The apartment lease I co-signed terminated the utilities. You'll need to switch them to your names by Friday. Emma gasped. You can't just... I can... And I did. Dad slammed his drink down. You believe money gives you the right to disgrace us? You believe that makes you better than your own family? No, I said. I suppose lying to someone's face while wasting their money makes you dishonest. And I'm done funding disrespect. Silence. Then Mom said gently, You'll regret this. I gazed at her like I was seeing her for the first time. No, you'll regret trying the one person who ever protected this family from imploding. I turned to go. 1 step 2, then stopped. I added, Oh, and thanks for the ticket. The seat will remain with me, but I'll sit by myself from now on. As the second half began, I made my way back into the stadium. The audience let forth a yell. I didn't turn around. They were still seated at that sticky plastic table somewhere behind me. Their phones stuffed with evidence. Bank statements was the first time in years that they realized their free ride was gone. I wasn't paying for it. I was leaving clean. After the game, I didn't get in touch with them. No calls, no messages, and no drama. And that quiet? No scream could possibly do as much damage as it did. I received my first email 3 days after leaving the stadium. Not from Emma. Not from my mother. From my father. Subject line. Let's act like grown-ups here, Body. We understand that you were unhappy with. Feelings were running high. Let's avoid getting out of hand. Let's have a conversation. I didn't respond. I sent it to my attorney. I didn't have to take them to court. All I had to do was warn them of the consequences. If I did. Noah, my lawyer, wasn't ostentatious. He was the type of man who said things like, Let's solve this efficiently, while sporting beige ties. In addition to thorough bank records, payment confirmations, and a cover letter, so frigid it could have frozen bone, he composed a 3-page package. The material that is provided details. The unlawful use of Mr. Fraud deception and unjust enrichment are among the financial practices that fall under my last name. If repayment does not start within 10 business days, we are ready to take official legal action to collect. He certified it and demanded a signature before sending it to their home address. They put their signature on it. 5 more days passed before I heard anything. Then the cash began to flow in the first $300, then $1 or $100. Subsequently, $8 and $600 was paid in one big sum, indicating half repayment. I apologize for any confusion. Perplexity. I emailed a screenshot to Noah. That following day, he followed up with them. Kindly note that the word partial does not apply. The entire sum cannot be negotiated. I get the remainder in 2 weeks. All the money I spent on Emma's wedding. I had paid for everything throughout Dad's difficult months. Rent payments, food presents, and all utility expenses. Even her engagement celebration cupcake tower. They made any payments, no lawsuits, no court orders. Just be afraid? Fear that if they didn't, I may do something they never acknowledged their wrongdoing. Not once Emma sent me a 1-line message and $2,000 in total. Only attempting to make things better. I gave it back. My deal had already arrived. She wasn't using guilt interest to buy her way out. Mom made an effort to soften it. Left a voicemail in the tremulous, dejected tone she used when her father shouted too loudly, "Can't we simply move on from this, honey? The money has been returned. Are we unable to proceed? Go ahead." After playing the message twice, I erased it. She never even looked back at it, but she wanted to go on. I stayed in town. My phone number remained the same. I only made one modification. My guidelines. Don't do any more favors. Sunday dinners are over. No more smilingly using family as a justification for stealing. I responded, "You already got your gift," when Emma texted me a week later to ask if I could attend her birthday dinner. There was interest in it. She kept it set to read. They made another attempt. This time, it was a letter from my dad written by hand. 2 pages, nice cursive. The opening line. I didn't intend for things to progress this far. They always want to get away with it. So I stopped reading there. They simply don't intend for you to notice. My life is tranquil now. The cafe on 6th and Main. The same apartment, the same neighborhood. However, no one knocked on my door. No last-minute crises. Not surprisingly. You're welcome. Price tags added to texts. I occasionally walk by my fiancé in the city center. He notices me. Turns away. Excellent. He ought to. I ran into my mother outside the pharmacy one afternoon. She looked aside. I continued to walk. They returned my money. However, they will never return me. I discovered a note beneath my door one evening. No stamp slid beneath. Like the confession of a coward. No salutations. Only one phrase. Despite our shortcomings, we are all still human. I gave a little smile. The next morning, I put it under their door after writing one phrase back. Stay together? I'm leaving. Before she knocked, I heard her. The same cautious steps up the stairs. A stop in front of the entrance. 2 piercing knocks followed, the kind that should not be disregarded but rather heard. Emma never rang but always knocked. She was aware that I would disregard a doorbell, but a knock was personal. It pleaded for gifts. I pulled the door open. There she stood. No rings, no armor, no makeup, just a glance and 2 little jackets. Just before she asked for something, I recognized the one she wore. Prior to the manipulation taking effect, she said, "I'm not here to ask for money." "It's new," I said. She did not chuckle. "I wanted you to consider it, which is why I came." "Concerning the wedding. How about it? I'd like you to attend." "Quiet. It will not be a big one, not a drama. Only close relatives. I want you to come too." I remained still. She went on. "I am aware of our error. I made a mistake, but I don't want my future children to grow up in a dysfunctional household. I still consider you my brother." "No," I said. "Up until the account froze, I had your back." She winced. The statements were accurate, not because they were painful, she went on. I'm not proud of what happened. However, I'm working to put things right. The past cannot be changed. Perhaps I interrupted her, though. When I stood at a table set for 12 and discovered I was the 13th, you uploaded a family photo and cut me out, deducting $4.200 from my card and signing the invoice under someone else's name. Your wedding had already taken place. The extra... She turned her head away now, as if everything had been erased. You arrive with an invitation. I gave a head shake. You're not giving me tranquility again. You're giving me the same quiet... I'm attempting, she muttered. Emma, you didn't lose a sibling. You just seen what happens to him when he no longer acts as a convenience. She remained still. Pressed lips. I went to the closet, took out a blank white envelope and used a black pen to write 4 words on the front. Send it back to the sender between us. I set it on the table. My RSVP is that, bring it along? She left it alone. Nothing was touched by her. I had a thought she started but was unable to complete. She approached the door, touched the handle and took one quick glance back. You will know where I am if anything changes. When she was gone, I murmured, exactly, behind me. I didn't immediately close the door. I listened to her footsteps fading down the stairs while I stood there. Then there was a car beginning and then there was nothing. I took the envelope and put it in my drawer. As a reminder, not as a recollection. I received a notice the next day. Their apartment's utilities were no longer associated with my name. A bank warning follows. The entire amount owing has been paid back. I co-signed a car loan years ago and it was cleared and retitled 3 days later. No more obligations, bills, or assistance. I prepared coffee and quiet on Sunday. Outside it was pouring. Her wedding was not on my mind. I kept the past out of my mind. I simply sat there and took a deep breath. It was worth every moment, even if it cost me years. I went to the post office that evening and requested that they print a fresh label for my mailbox. Not very fancy. No family requests are permitted. The typeface is basic and the letters are black. I was not lost by them. I was exhausted by them. I'm bankrupt now too. Not in cash inside, and I owe them nothing for the first time in my life.